Hello everybody, this is Oceanus here. Sorry for the delay in videos. I've been sick for the past few days. But anyway, it is now day 6 of the one weekend adventure in decapitating the Iranian regime. And while the United States did get the supreme leader, um, there hasn't been a surrender, you could say. In fact, I would argue that the situation has only gotten worse for America and Israel. And you might be asking, well, why is that? They have near total air superiority over the Iranian skies right now. They're bombing Tehran. Didn't mean to do that. They're bombing Tehran. They're bombing all these places. It's we should be winning this thing, right? We've taken out their navy and whatnot. Well, while that's all true, um, there it hasn't led to the collapse. What we were betting on was the decapitation strikes would lead to a popular revolt in Iran, and so far that hasn't happened. In fact, I would say that the people who I guess I don't know what they're doing. I think they've mostly solidified behind the ruling regime of whoever's in charge right now. I think the president is still alive. Yeah, he is alive, but I don't know exactly how much control the president has over the military right now. But they've been this popular uprising we've been hearing so much about we that the U.S. supposedly intervened for hasn't happened yet. And what we have gotten instead since Saturday is Iranians, the Revolutionary Guard, and the military proper firing drones and missiles at the surrounding countries. Something that they have done now, which is really interesting, I think I covered this in my last video, is that they're not just firing upon Israel this go around. They're firing upon the Gulf states, and which so far they've other than Israel, they fired on Jordan, they fired on Iraq, or at the American base in Erbil, which is right up here in the Kurdistan areas of Iraq. They fired on our bases in Kuwait and Bahrain, which is this little island right here, which is only connected by a bridge to the mainland Saudi peninsula. Why I'm surprised Iran hasn't taken that out yet, because oh boy, look at this thing. Uh, so they've targeted in Bahrain. They've targeted our base in Qatar, Doha. They've targeted multiple um, high rises actually there. I think what they have thought is that we are keeping our officer class in apartment buildings in Doha, and that's why they're targeting those. I've also targeted the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, in I think this is Abu Dhabi, yes, and in Dubai. Again, both bases and residential areas. What they have also done is, well, they've already done that. They've targeted Riyadh and our base near there. And recently, I didn't even, I forgot, they've targeted Cyprus as well, and they have, I don't know if this was an accident or not. There was a drone launched, I think a drone or missile launched towards Turkey, and it was intercepted. I don't know if that was intentional, but I put Turkey on the list of targets just because, it did happen. And this morning, Azerbaijan, which again, I don't know if that was accidental or not. But if Azerbaijan joins the war, that could be interesting. So yes, we have seen targeting by Iran in all these places. And why I'm saying that I don't think this is going to be a really easy win for America and Israel this go around is because not only they're targeting the bases, but they're targeting the early warning radar sites. Israel right now has the luxury of being shielded by a bunch of early warning radars around the region. So when Iran launches their missiles and the drones, our radars in the Gulf states can detect those and relay that information to Israel. And because of that, they can get their air defenses up and work to intercept these missiles and drones. But so far, Iran has been trying to take out those early warning systems and have been quite successful at it. The other thing is, what they've also done is they have closed the Strait of Hormuz, which is this tiny little waterway between the United Arab Emirates and Iran proper. Now, you might be wondering, well, what's the big deal about this? Well, the big deal about this is that a lot of um, the oil shipments that are produced from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, and all these other Gulf countries go through here. So Iran closing the strait um, essentially makes the shipping oil out of the of this area a lot harder. And I do think it's kind of silly in a way. Like, why in the world did did we think to bottleneck everything in here when we could have been going this way or maybe this way? Maybe I'm ignorant, but I think that just seemed to be a really bad strategy on the Gulf states' part. But whatever. I know Iraq doesn't really have any choice, but like Saudi Arabia, for example, I don't understand why they couldn't just gone this way. I don't know. Little tangent though, but yeah. So the Trump has said that we have opened it with our navy. The problem is that even if they don't have, even if the Iranians can't get ships in there, they can still launch missiles at oil tankers, and they've actually been doing this. They have been launching missiles at oil tankers, and they've taken down a couple of them. Um, so even if even if we have our navy in there to take down Iranian ships, like it still doesn't matter until we take out the launchers that they are using to get these ships destroyed. So, just letting you know, guys, if this continues to remain closed, the price of gas is going to skyrocket. If we cannot get this open, and we it's going to go. And not only is that, but Iran has been targeting oil production and refinery facilities in the Gulf states, which will make make a hit to their production of oil and petroleum, which in turn will, well, again, make the price of gas skyrocket because it costs more to produce, and thus the companies need to make more of a profit. And if they're losing their assets over here because Iran is shooting missiles at them, then they're going to squeeze the consumer for more money. So unfortunately, if this doesn't end soon, we're going to be faced with, I don't know, maybe over $4 a gallon. Maybe I'm being generous there, but yes, this is really bad. Um, just so you know, I'm not being a panic an alarmist here, but it's just truth. If this doesn't get situated, you're going to be paying more at the pump. I mean, it sucks, but that's what's going to happen. So I would recommend getting gas now. I did now. Don't flood the gas stations and be like, oh, I'm gonna take your billion canisters, but just be mindful of that fact. Something else that has also happened is that Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Lebanese Hezbollah brigades, when they have joined the war. So what they've been doing is they've been rocketing the north of Israel, specifically Haifa and the surrounding area here. Um, Back in 2024, Hezbollah's commanders were killed by pager attacks, and they had a ceasefire since then. But now that they've been attacked, they're rejoining the war, and they've actually been very effective at coordinating with the Iranians to coordinate their missile attacks at the same time as Iran does. So while Iran launches their missiles to like Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or down here, Hezbollah is also launching rockets up here and drones as well. So they're doing a lot of coordination. Israel has launched a ground campaign in Lebanon, but so far they haven't been that successful. Um, the Hezbollah brigades have done a pretty good job at destroying a lot of their stuff coming in. So that's another thing that you have to watch out for. What am I missing here? But yeah, so far that's been the situation lately. For the past few days, I have been, even though I was sick, I have been monitoring it somewhat. Not as much depth as I would have liked to, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Um, but so yeah, that's just I just wanted to show you guys what the map situation was because I this is kind of a rudimentary. I don't have map making skills or whatnot. This is just Google Maps, and that's all I'm using here. But I think it works just for a little while at least. Oh, also another thing to notice is that should Azerbaijan join the war proper and it becomes a target for Iran, the thing they're going to target the most is the Baku oil fields, which also is a very large producer of oil and gas and was actually one of the main suppliers for the old Soviet Union. It was very famous for it was even a war goal for the Germans in World War II was to get those oil fields because they were so rich in oil wealth. But they can be targeted and destroyed, so that would also put a hit to the gas pumps. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes for the next few days. And the other thing is that now the Pentagon is saying that this could last up to 100 days. They've been increasing the likelihood of how long it's going to take. Um, so again, oil infrastructure being targeted, the Strait of Hormuz closed, where all the oil is supposed to go out of, tankers being targeted, probable Azerbaijani entry into the war. Yeah, you're going to feel this at the gas pump. And oh, also the Houthis might also get involved. I'm hearing some murmurs about them. Their main base of operations is in this part of Yemen. If they get involved and they start going after the Saudi Arabia again, it could also be a disaster for oil production. But there's something else I need to address. Um, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has also said within a few days US bases in the Middle East will no longer have a way to defend against incoming Iranian missiles and drones. I would assume this is because of, again, the early warning radar systems being targeted, which which is what we need to detect these things, these missile launchers and these drone launches. And another thing is that, oh yes, the Islamic resistance in Iraq, they have also become involved. Um, Iraq, again, for those my less geopolitically inclined subscribers, is this is Iraq. This is the country of Iraq right here, and they have a large Shia resistance organization that has been targeting our American bases in Erbil and Baghdad and such. So that's something else you need to watch out for. And Iran has been using this new thing called like cluster munitions, Koram Shar, I can't pronounce it. And so what it does is it launches and then it breaks apart, and then it creates like a very large area of destruction with all these mini missiles into one. You say very very effective, very deadly. So I don't I think that the I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I understand that we have air superiority over Iran at the moment, but they're still launching missiles. They're still launching drones. They're still taking out our early warning systems, our radars, our bases. Uh, what are we going to do? Like, where are our military even going to be able to be housed now in the Middle East? Are we? Because I don't know how we can. After this is over? Are we going to come back? Uh, uh, or because here's where this what I see playing out now. Scenario one is we bomb Iran into rubble. Um, we kill most of the regime leaders, and the people rise, and that's that. And then we don't get an uprising of the people like we want to, but they can't do anything. And I guess at that point we can move back in. And then you have scenario two, which is what we wanted to happen, which didn't happen, was we bomb Iran, the people rise up, they take control, and they establish a democratic government in Tehran, or whichever city they're using as their capital. I know they have like a couple cities they use as their capital. That's what we wanted to have happen, but that didn't happen, and that's probably not going to happen now. And then you have scenario three, where um, we it's a stalemate, where the regime stays as is, and the but we can't penetrate into them much further than we've already have, and we can't return to our bases because otherwise they'll just shoot at us again. And we just have this giant situation where we can't do anything to them, they can't do anything to us because they can't hit us on our mainland. Do we leave the Middle East? Because I don't see a way unless Iran falls completely and their regime is changed completely. I don't see a way that we can actually return our troops to the region unless we're talking about just going to Israel. But the thing about that is that they can still reach Israel because right now most of our like I don't know what we do. I don't think this was really. I mean, it was well thought out. If the scenario that we envisioned would have happened, if the people would have rose up. But I think we intervened too late. When those protests were happening a month ago, I think that was the time we should have intervened. I'm not saying. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not saying we should have intervened. I personally don't believe in regime change wars or in foreign interventions. But if I was in Washington at that time, that is when I would have advocated to intervene because you had people on the streets already who could have organized and risen up against the regime, and with our help, they could have taken it over. Probably. Maybe not 100%, but certainly more certain than it would be now. But we didn't do that. We weren't ready to do that. So instead, we waited about a month, and these riots they died down, and most of the people who were involved in them were either killed or put in prison. And now there's really no one to really do it. And apparently, the people who we were eyeing to succeed the supreme leader were also killed in the opening strike. So now we really don't know who's running Iran. We know the president is still alive, but here's the thing about Iran: the president doesn't have that much power when it comes to military affairs. That is the domain of the supreme leader. But the supreme leader's position is vacant, so I am assuming the Revolutionary Guard and the military are running their own affairs right now. And our bombing of Tehran really doesn't work that much because I don't think anybody who's smart is still in Tehran at this point. Or at least anybody not civilian who's smart. I think that they have all gone to their underground missile bases, which are huge, by the way, and are coordinating the war effort from there. And they are very difficult to detect. And I think that they can be used for years Because these people have been waiting for a war for years. They haven't conducted it yet, but they've been waiting for a final reckoning with the Israelis and the United States since 1979. And they've been constructing these vast underground tunnels everywhere. So I'm assuming that they can hold out for a very long time. That and the fact that they have almost 1 million man army. Um, Last I heard was over 600,000 active personnel and um, 300,000 reserves, over, give or take. Which also means that, and look at this, like the mountainous terrain. Now here's the thing. I know that Trump doesn't rule out boots on the ground, but this isn't going to be feasible. Like this, look at all this. You can't, you can't invade this. It would be like an Iranians invading the USA. Like Iran is just gifted with geography. Like it's not going to be like Iraq where you have like a bunch of plains. I mean, yeah, I guess granted Afghanistan was really difficult to maneuver, but they had a very unpopular government at the time, and they also weren't that well equipped. But Iran, unlike Afghanistan and Iraq, had been preparing for this for years and years and years, and they've used their geography and their to their advantage. So my main, I'm going to end it here because like it's kind of been I've been going for 20 minutes now, but my main issue is like, how do we sustain this? Like, are we just going to? I think the only way to sustain this is just to keep bombing them. But then if they're in those underground facilities, what's the use? So we're going to get this really weird situation where nobody's winning, and it's just either we give up bombing them or they give up shooting missiles. At this point, I don't think the regime is going to change. And I also think that Israel is going to be taking the full. This is going to hurt Israel more than it's going to hurt the United States. Like everyone in the US, like you have the anti-Zionists, which I understand saying we don't want to die for Israel, but the fact of the matter is, Israel's going to be hit harder with this than we are, because they're the ones taking the full brunt of the missile attacks. Now, granted, our troops are too, but at least our mainland isn't in direct striking range of Iran. Meanwhile, Israel's getting hammered with by both from the north and the Iranian government in the east. So either Israel's going to be bombed to dust, or Iran's going to be bombed to dust. That's the only outcome of this. But I don't think either regime is going to change unless somebody gets really unhappy. But anyways, I'm going to go now. I'm going to. My next video might not be on this subject, but unless something really drastic happens. But I wanted to give you all the summarization of what has been going on, because I think it's important. I think it is important to know this stuff. And like I said, I'm not someone who's I'm not I call me a radical centrist. I'm not a Zionist. I'm not a pro-Israel person, and I'm not a pro-Iranian person. I'm an America First person. But it is important to understand everything that is going on in the world and at large, just from every point of view possible. So that way you understand what is happening and where it's happening, and what you need to do to be prepared when issues arise. Anyhow, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, give me feedback. Surely there's people who know more about this stuff than I do around that that would like to say something about it. Please do. Also share this video if you can, and I'll be back maybe not tomorrow night, but maybe the next day with some more headlines and news for you. All right. Have a good night, everybody.